What one you said up to Mike? 35?
Starts with the letter A, single letter A.
Single letter A.
I think it's 34.
34.
I hope.
Would you like an instrument for that?
Sure.
34.
Does anyone play harmonica?
Not really.
I do a very rudimentary job. I guess there's no words.
We need that. Well, just us? You need some cartons? Get cartons. We leave that open, and when you finish, we'll do the side door soon. I'm planning on a fan. We have many.
Tell the time. Time you say? Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, he plays the Madonna.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, you can't do two things at once. You go get the Madonna, and I'll do that.
Okay.
Madonna is important. And the wood. It's breaking so often.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Should I get your 20 minutes?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Big cushion.
Thank you.
I know, and the hard cushion too. Maybe 3. Let's even go for.
Yeah,
That's
hold it.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari. Did you do the Premadwani prayers?
Yeah. The first one. Okay.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakacharya Astotara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Guru Vrinda Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Govardhan Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Prashadam Distribution Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Is there a Bhagavatam in the house?
You need a book. Sorry, you had saying you need a book.
Yeah. I have a reader if I could use.
No.
My far. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Good morning. It is the 13th. Thank you. It's the 13th of July, 2017, and we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni, text 34. And give it a try. I never saw one start with a single vowel before. Asmabhi prichedya patim prajanam Tvaya vatirnarna utapta kama Parivrajat padavim ashtitoham Karishye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha Asmabhi prichedya patim prajanam Tvaya vatirnarna utapta kamaha Paribrajat padavim ashtitoham Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha Asmabhi prichedya patim prajanam Tvaya vatirnarna utapta kamaha Parivrajat padavim ashtitoham Karisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha.
Karishe tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha.
Asma varichedya patim prajanam.
Asma parichedya patim prajanam.
Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha.
Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha.
Parivrajat padavim astitoham.
Parivrajat padavim astitoham.
Karisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha.
Karisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha.
Asma viprichedya patim prajanam.
Asma viprichedya patim prajanam.
Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha.
Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha.
Parivrajat padavim astitoham.
Parivrajat padavim astitoham.
Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha.
Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. Asma viprichedya patim prajanam. Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha. Parivrajat padavim astitoham. Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. Asma viprichedya patim prajanam. Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha. Parivrajat padavim astitoham. Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. Asma viprichedya patim prajanam. Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha. Parivrajat padavim astitoham. Karisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. Asma viprichedya patim prajanam. Tvayavatirnarna utapta kamaha. Parivrajat padavim astitoham. Charisye tvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. So now we'll do the word meanings. Asma abhipriche.
Asma vipriche.
I am inquiring.
I am inquiring.
Adya.
Adya.
Now.
Now.
Patim.
Patim.
The Lord.
The Lord.
Prajanam.
Prajanam.
Of all created beings.
Of all created beings.
Tvaya.
Tvaya.
By you.
By you.
Avatirna rina.
Avatirna.
Free from debts.
Free from debts.
Uta.
Uta.
And.
And.
Apta.
Apta.
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled.
Kama.
Kama.
Desires.
Desires.
Paribrajat.
Parivrajat.
Of an itinerant mendicant.
Of an itinerant mendicant.
Padavim.
Padavim.
The path.
The path.
Ashtita.
Ashtita.
Accepted.
Accept.
Aham.
Aham.
I.
I.
Charisye.
Charisye.
I shall wander.
I shall wander.
Tvam.
Palm.
You.
You.
Hridi.
Vidhi.
In my heart.
In my heart.
Yunjan.
Yunjan.
Keeping.
Keeping.
Vishokaha.
Vishoka.
Free from lamentation.
Free from lamentation.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Prabhupada. Today I have something to ask from you, who are the Lord of all living entities. Since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my Father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. Please repeat. Today I have something to ask from you,
Today I have something to ask from you,
who are the Lord of all living entities.
who are the Lord of
since I have now been liberated by you
since I have now been liberated by you
from my debts to my father,
from my debts to my father,
and since all my desires are fulfilled,
and since all my desires are fulfilled,
I wish to accept the order
I wish to accept the order
of an itinerant mendicant.
of an itinerant mendicant.
Renouncing this family life,
Renouncing family life,
I wish to wander about,
I wish to wander about,
free from lamentation,
free from lamentation,
thinking always of you in my heart.
thinking always of you in my heart.
Srila Prabhupada's purport. Actually, sannyas, or renunciation of material household life, necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self. One does not take sannyas, freedom from family responsibility in the renounced order of life, to make another family, or to create an embarrassing transcendental fraud in the name of sannyas. The sannyasi's business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money from the innocent public. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. Of course, there are two kinds of devotees of the Lord. One is called Gosti Anandi, which means those who are preachers and have many followers for preaching the glories of the Lord, and who live among those many, many followers just to organize missionary activities. Other devotees are Atmanandi, or self-satisfied, and do not take the risk of preaching work. They remain, therefore, alone with God. In this classification was Kardama Muni. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paribraja means an itinerant mendicant. A mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatamadam Visya Gunam Gunam Shalakaya Chakshura Militamina Tasma Shigurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindividacha Ptitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So, having somewhere between 0.000 and 0.001 percentage of realization about this topic, as one of the only two people here wearing white, I took copious amounts of notes and also photocopied a few sections of what I hope to be relevant material, because otherwise, kind of like, what do they say, out on a ship without a rudder, you know, out there in the Pacific Ocean. So it's very nice, and actually Maharaj Dravida Prabhu should be giving this class, but it's a very nice verse and Srila Prabhupada's purport, and makes a lot of very important points. So, first point that I could see is this understanding that a sannyas is independent in the sense of not requiring the family environment, like for their physical and mental sustenance and well-being. And this, you know, it's a very important point, because sometimes we've seen people will accept the sannyas order of life and not be able to maintain it. So then we have to look at that and try to understand that from Srila Prabhupada's instructions and from the realizations and instructions of devotees. Now the movement's been going over 50 years, right? So there's been some time, there's been some examples. It's a revolutionary movement that went from nothing, went from one pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, to a worldwide society of temples and restaurants and farms and devotees, right? And all of the ashrams and all of the occupational varnas are gradually being filled in, but this is all coming like boom, you know, like that, right? From 1965, when Srila Prabhupada got on the Jaladuta, until 1977, when he went back to Goloka Vrindavan, this entire thing happened, you know, and it's, of course, didn't end there. It's continuing to happen by his shiksha and by his devotees, his disciples, his representatives, like that. It's all continuing to blossom. This branch of Lord Chaitanya's mission, this Srila Prabhupada was sent as the founder Acharya to really revolutionize the spreading of Krishna consciousness in the modern world. But a lot happened very, very quickly, right? So we have these examples even of devotees who very sincerely took the sannyas but weren't able to maintain it. And from these we get very instructive lessons, like So this point about independence, I thought Prabhupada was kind of bringing up first. And, it's an important understanding, because we understand that sannyas is independent. Like when Narada Muni was speaking to Srila Vyasadeva, and he, in the course of their discussion, he talked about his former life, and then how after becoming delivered by the Lord, he just wandered, and he just wandered everywhere fearlessly chanting the holy names of the Lord, right? Not depending on anyone or anything. His mother had been bitten by a snake and passed away, but he had gotten the association of the Bhakti Vedantas, and they had given him the understanding of Krishna consciousness. They'd given him the names of the Lord to chant. Once only, by their permission, he took the remnants of their foodstuff, prasadam, maha prasadam, and he became very purified at heart. And so he was able to, even as a young boy, because of his depth of Krishna consciousness that he received from them, and he seriously took, he was able to take up this order of sannyas. And one of the points he was making is that very independent, because they're not independent, not at all independent, but independent from what we normally depend on, right? We depend on our family members, we depend on our well-wishing elders, we depend on our bank account, we depend on different resources that will help us get through from, step A to step B to step C. And this is natural, right? But a sannyas means that one has so much dependence on Krishna and Guru that they don't need any of the other, levels of support that we normally count on, right? And so, in that sense, independent. Like one time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a question that came to Srila Prabhupada about, can women take sannyas? And as I recall, the answer he gave was no, because they're meant, according to the Vedic literatures, to be dependent on the father as a girl, on the husband as a grown woman, and on the grown-up sons as an elder. So those dependence stages are meant to be there. Doesn't mean that they're not as advanced or more advanced than a sannyasi in their Krishna consciousness, but those are orders according to the different bodies and the different stages of life that we're in. So in that sense, Prabhupada also was teaching that a sannyasi is meant to be independent from these different support systems like that. And there's one pastime that kind of illustrates this when Srila Prabhupada was expanding the movement like wildfire. And one prominent sannyasi realized that he was no longer able to continue in that status of devotional service. And he wrote to Srila Prabhupada informing him of that development. And Srila Prabhupada wrote him back and he said, that's okay, stay as grihastha, but stay, engage in devotional service, because the devotional service is far more important than whatever particular varna or ashram that one is executing that devotional service from. These are platforms from which we get on with our real business of devotional service. And at the same time, he was writing the purports to the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam with the Gajendra Lila, Mokshana Lila, and how Gajendra, although of great strength, because he was out of his element, he was fighting in the domain of the crocodile. The crocodile was getting nourishment from his environment, the elephant wasn't. So ultimately, although the elephant had superior strength, he became weakened by acting, without that nourishment, right? And there's one, I think Sukhavak Prabhu years ago wrote a paper about this based on something by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he talked about the different, platforms or positions of Atma. I mean, ultimately we're the soul, but there's also the body, the mind, the intelligence, the emotions, different aspects of ourself that we have taken on in these lives. And at least in our more immature stages of devotional service, it's very important that all of our physical, mental, emotional needs are being met, so that, same point, we can get on with our real business of devotional service, right? So if one needs a little more, if one needs something to feel comfortable, that's basically okay, as long as it's within our domain of our regulative principles and things. Because the real point is not how great of an austerity we're performing in comparison to another devotee, but are we situated in our devotional service in a way that we're able to go forward and to take that next step and like that. In other words, like my taking a risk in Krishna consciousness for his service might be a lot less than yours or yours. But at the same time, I need to take those next steps, no matter how incremental. They may be baby steps. But compared to somebody else. But the comparison is not so important as what are we doing, you know what I mean? And so Srila Prabhupada wrote back to that Maharaj that stay as devotee, don't give up devotional service. That's the important thing, right? So, but at the same time, through this understanding, we understand that a sannyasi is one who has come to the point in their devotional service where they're ready to just depend on Guru and Krishna, and of course their god brothers and senior devotees like that. Not that they're independent in that sense, but they're not dependent on the material facilities and even on the emotional support of families and things like that, but all these things are important. I mean, like in my stage of life, I'm very dependent on the family. Like I travel alone a lot, as sannyasis do, for business. But, I have to get on the phone and speak to my wife, and I have to speak to my children, and when I hear their sweet voices, it enlivens me in my life and in my service. I'm maybe I shouldn't be saying this, and I should have a better profile or whatever, but I'm trying to be honest. And so the point is that in some stage of life, the association of devotees, of family members, and like that, we need. Of course, we always need the association of devotees in every stage, and that's always there. But then, like in Grihastha life, the association of family members and like that is actually very important. But we just have to make sure that that association is in Krishna consciousness, right? Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave the perfect example. He said, Manasa Deha Geha Yoki Chumur. He didn't say throw everything out. He said, whatever I have, my mind, my body, my words, my fields, my house, my family, please accept it as an offering at your lotus feet. So it's not about who has less necessarily, but it's about who's using whatever they have in Krishna's service, right? Like Arjuna, he had a lot, but he was using everything in Krishna's service, right? There's that one Puranic story, it was in one of the ISKCON publications once, and I thought it was a very nice illustration of how even someone who has a lot, right, can be completely Krishna conscious. So Arjuna was on a state visit to Dwarka, and he was staying in his palace that Krishna had allotted him. And Srimati Rukmini Devi was noticing each night that Krishna was getting up from her side in the middle of the night and disappearing. And why was she noticing this? Because she's very Krishna conscious, and as soon as Krishna is not there, she's in great anxiety. So she was observing this, and then after some nights, she secretly crept after him. Of course, kind of hard to secretly creep after Krishna because, right, he's conscious of everything and everyone. Consciously, he's the super soul who probably gave her the inspiration to do that. But anyway, after some time, he turned around and said, "Come on, well, I'll show you why I get up from your side in the middle of the night." And they came into a palace, and they walked down the hall, and they came into a room, and Arjuna was lying there resting. And he said, "Come close." And when she came close, she could hear that vibrating from Arjuna's body was the holy names of Krishna. He was so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that even in his sleep, he was completely Krishna conscious, right? So whether we have a little bit or we have a lot, the point is, whatever we have, we try to engage it in Lord Krishna's devotional service. And this is the principle of sannyas, right? This full absorption in devotional service, not the official acceptance of, that's a very special position, but this is the principle of offering whatever we have to Krishna for his service. So that was one point, and I have to kind of refer to these notes a little bit because, again, subject matter is very foreign to me, so I apologize. And, one of the things is, he mentioned this dependence on Krishna and absorption in the self. So, and in this way, one can avoid, Prabhupada phrases it so nicely, this creating another family and embarrassing transcendental fraud, right? So, in other words, one has to be satisfied in their relationship with Krishna, right? And satisfied in their self in the sense that they don't need these other relationships. And otherwise, it can be very, very difficult. We see one time in Mayapur, this one so-called sannyasi came to town, and somehow they rented the mosque right next to where we stay. And they had a big three-ring circus going on. It happened to be during the time of the Mayapur festival, so luckily all of his followers, there wasn't any room over there, so they're all staying in ISKCON, and they're all getting prasadam, and they're all, having darshan and things like that. So there was actually, that was probably the real reason why they had their thing. But anyway, the man was a great fraud and a great cheater, and he had all kinds of illicit things going on. Later I heard he visited SanDiego once and had a three-ring circus going with it was a little rasa crowd and this and that. So, these things are there if one is not genuinely situated in Krishna consciousness and satisfied in their relationship with Krishna and self-satisfied like that. So, one shouldn't adopt this order of life prematurely. That's why it's offered to the very, very mature devotees who have cultivated that consciousness, that devotional consciousness. So the next point was, that I could see anyway. A second here. Yeah, I thought it was interesting reading the purport. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. So generally, when we see this word pride, right, I think one of the most common usages in our modern, understanding is somebody's puffed up, as we say, right? Somebody's very proud and they're very arrogant and they're, very, very convinced of their own glories. But I was looking it up in Merriam-Webster dictionary, and that was one. But then there were a couple others that I thought related, hopefully, and correct me if I'm wrong, this much more scholarly Prabhu's here, but other usages. So one was much pleased. In other words, one is very pleased with the way it is. Another one is having proper self-respect. So I was thinking that it related more to those kind of meanings, and with that in mind anyway, I looked up a couple things I wanted to share. There was a Bhagavatam class in Philadelphia in 1975, and Srila Prabhupada was speaking. It was a Jamil section, and he quoted, a little bit from the Guru Puja song, which had just been sung, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittate Kuriya Aikya, and asking the devotees about the meaning, like that. And there was a little fumbling, but then one devotee, and Prabhupada got a little heavy, I'll just read some of it. He says, are you singing? Are you not singing daily? But do you understand the meaning? Or are you singing only? What is the meaning? Who will explain? Huh? Nobody knows? Yes, what is the meaning? So I got to put the devotees on the spot. And then one devotee came, my only wish is that my mind be purified by the words coming from the mouth of my spiritual master. I have no other desire for anything else. And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, this is the order. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittati Kuriya Aikya. Now, chitta means consciousness or heart. I shall do this only, boss. My Guru Maharaj told me I shall do this. Chittati Kuriya Aikya. Arna Kuriyo Mane Ash. So it is not my pride, but I can say, for your instruction, I did it. Therefore, whatever little success you see, then all my God brothers, it is due to this. I have no capacity, but I took it, the words of my Guru, as life and soul. So this is fact. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chittati Kuriya Aikya. Everyone should do that. But anyway, he goes on, and so in this sense, it's not pride in the sense that we think someone's proud, but it's pride in the sense proud of the spiritual master, proud of the order of the spiritual master, proud that this order is being fulfilled for the satisfaction of the spiritual master, that this movement is spreading for the deliverance of the conditioned souls, because Srila Prabhupada took that order on his head as his life and soul. He didn't look left, he didn't look right. Like that story with Arjuna, he only saw the eye of the bird, like that. So, in devotional service, we become purified. We become more qualified than we were. We can get good at things. People will respect us for that. It's, and it's not bad in a sense. I mean, there's many, many things that need to be done. But the order of the spiritual master always has to be the guiding factor, right? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and giving the order of the parampara, it was a very big order, right? That this movement had to be spread all around the world. And Prabhupada did that. He took that on his head. He didn't think of anything else. He wasn't concerned, and he really showed the example of a pure devotee and, of course, of a sannyasi. There was another time early after the movement had been started, and there were just a few sannyasis, and, in youthful innocence and, how would you say, not knowing so much yet, some of them had become confused as to Srila Prabhupada's position and what was going on. There was kind of some turmoil in the movement. And Srila Prabhupada, to guide them properly, he showed what is a sannyasi? You know, like, how do they act? And he just took a few trusted devotees, and he left America, and he went to Japan, and he printed all these books, amazing stories, not time for all the details, but they negotiated this amazing arrangement with the printers, and then he went to India and started the entire preaching in India, like, on a huge, huge scale. And by the time he came back to the West, the movement had, doubled, tripled, you know, in every way, and in this way he showed. He didn't, like, try to hold on to the assets that were already there and, you know, pull the wagons in a circle and that kind of thing. But he just went out with total dependence on Krishna, right? He wasn't trying to, like he says here in the purport, sannyasi's duty is not to try to amass funds from innocent people and like that. Because whatever comes, he just sees it to use for Krishna's service. And it's just constantly being recycled, right? So he had done something amazing starting this movement. And then there was some little stall there, some little catch. And Prabhupada just went out and just blew the whole thing open, just expanded the movement unlimitedly. And then everyone could see, this is the duty of a sannyasi. This is our founder Acharya. This is Srila Prabhupada. So he was always teaching like that. Give me a second here. So just another place, just on that point of pride, there was that nice section at the, what time does this go until?
We usually go to 8:30,
Oops,
8:35.
Okay. Okay, so, no, I definitely worry about it. Anyway, I'll just paraphrase, but there's that nice section in the concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Srila Prabhupada was very humbly assessing his achievements and just basically saying that if there's any credit, it's that I tried to follow the order of my spiritual master. He wanted these books distributed, he wanted this movement started, like that. But huge achievements, just achievements incomparable in the history, even in the history of the Bhagavatam. I mean, like, we can't even, you know. But Prabhupada, his pride was in executing the order of his spiritual master. His pride was in glorifying his spiritual master, that he wanted this, right? He wanted this. Lord Chaitanya wanted this. You know, this is meant to happen. We are serving by making it happen, like that. So it's a type of pride with total humility. It's not, you know, the kind that we think of in the material world, you know. And another point, just because of the time factor, kind of fast forward here. The last point that I just wanted to mention was Prabhupada, you know, he says how the, like about the 3 days, where is that? A mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. So I was, you know, looking around for something, and it's nice nowadays, the Google Purana, you know, because I'm not super expert on the database, so a lot of times I have to go on Google, and then it directs you to the database anyway, but like you end up getting it there, but it kind of like puts you into the right place. I don't always know how to search on there. But I was looking for something in that regard, and there's a nice room conversation, and this is September 5th, 1976 in Vrindavan, and I just excerpted part of it. Prabhupada, but it kind of gives a little action to this purport of what Prabhupada's saying. Prabhupada, sannyas should go on preaching. Practically, I was sitting here in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar temple, so at the age of 70 years, nobody goes out. At least from Vrindavan, nobody goes at the age of 70 years. But Krishna asked me. I thought that I must go. Guru Maharaj wanted it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me try. So if I had not gone, then this institution would not have developed. So this is practical. Mahata nirvicharanam. Mahatma, they must move. So when there is absolute necessity, they may stay. Otherwise, they must move. Move on, move on, move on, move on, move on. No staying. That is principle. No staying. I am this old age. I cannot move. So many. Still, I am traveling all over the world. I am simply interested that whatever I have done, it may not be vanquished in my absence. Let me go and encourage them. Otherwise, I have no capacity to move now. But still, I am moving. Only for this purpose. Girinam grina chetasam. So a sannyasi must move. A sannyasi must not stay anywhere more than 3 days. That is the principle. So I thought that was nice. He was kind of elaborating. Move on, preach on, you know, like that. And even in his age, leaving Vrindavan and then continually leaving Vrindavan to shore up the movement like that. So it's such a wonderful example. And Srila Prabhupada has imbibed that understanding into all of his disciples. We have His Holiness Bhadranarayan Goswami here amongst us, and so many other wonderful Maharajas, and they've imbibed this same mood and teachings, the mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, right? So many saintly persons, they're interested in their own satisfaction, but I'm not interested in that. I want to help all these fools and rascals become Krishna conscious. So this is the mood that Srila Prabhupada gave from Prahlad Maharaj, from the Panchatattva, right? So this distribution of Krishna consciousness, and we have so many good examples just before us. So because of the time factor, I better stop there, and if there's any comments, corrections, or questions. But in Ranraj?
I have a comment and a question. You were talking about that sannyasi who fell down, you know, and he came before Prabhupada and he said, you know, Lord Chaitanya rejected Junior Haridas. What should I do? Are you rejecting me? And Prabhupada said, I am not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could conquer the whole world. He said, but I need your help. So Prabhupada, like you said, Prabhupada said, just go on preaching. So Prabhupada was forgiving in that regard. You were saying about pride. When I was in Los Angeles, a devotee asked Sudam, before he took sannyas, asked Prabhupada, you know, sometimes when I'm with you, Prabhupada, I feel proud. You know, I'm walking with you, and you know, is that Maya? Prabhupada said, you can feel this kind of pride. That by the grace of my Guru Maharaj, I'm no longer a fool. So that kind of pride.
Haribol.
So that kind of pride, we can feel at least, you know, I'm delivered from that.
Thank you.
My question, because Zach also has a question. I was just saying, I had two questions, I'll just ask one. You know, we were talking about, which is true, we shouldn't be so much comparing ourselves to others. We should do what's necessary for us. And then we say, okay, well, I'm just taking baby steps because that's what I can do now. How do we know what's a rationale for not moving forward faster, and what's what we actually, you know, if we bite off more than we can chew, it could be a cause of fall down. So how do we measure that?
Right.
How do we say, well, you know, I'm following the three regular principles. It's the best I can do right now. You know, 4 is too much for me. So, you know, whatever it may be, you know, how do we make sure that we're not just becoming comfortable and stuck in the mud?
Right.
And then how do we make sure that we don't, you know?
Well, I mean,
I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, I'm going out, you know.
I'll take a stab at it, and maybe somebody can give a better answer. But you know, we have certain parameters. Well, for one thing, you know, someone takes initiation, and we need to try to execute our devotional service and live our life within those parameters. Like we have to, you know, like we hear stories about someone came to Prabhupada and said, oh, I was young, and this and that, and Prabhupada said, why did you promise? Like there's actually, you know, it's taking this vow. I mean, it's fine to appreciate Krishna consciousness, and everyone should practice to whatever degree is comfortable. At the same time, if one seriously wants to advance on this path, and one takes shelter of the devotees, accepts a bona fide spiritual master, so there's a commitment there, right? And then there's ways to strengthen ourselves to maintain that commitment, and from what I can understand, that's why the association of devotees is so important. And within that association of devotees, there are directives, right? We need to associate with devotees more advanced than us, because by their example, it rubs off on us, you know what I mean? Like when you associate with devotees who are very strong in their Krishna consciousness, who are very inspired in their own service, then we feel that, and we become inspired by that, right? And there's this principle of inquiring submissively. It's not just with the spiritual master, but there's Diksha Guru and there's Shiksha Guru, and Shiksha Guru can be many. So we should always be trying to find out devotees that we can relate to, that we can respect, that we can see from them how to go forward, that we can honestly reveal our hearts because the concession aspects of it are there because we're coming from a very, absorption in material life, right? So